For decades, the world believed the British Empire collapsed because the war exhausted it. But what if that explanation is only half true, maybe even wrong? What if the real unraveling began long before the war ended, triggered not just by battlefield losses but by hidden economic decisions? Today, we unpack a mystery: how an empire ruling 1/4 of the world fell apart in less than 3 decades. Setting the stage, the empire before the storm. At the dawn of the 20th century, the British Empire was the largest global power in human history. London wasn't just a city. It was the financial capital of the world. The pound sterling was the dominant global currency. British ships carried half of the world's cargo. And its colonies, from India to Africa to the Middle East, fed its economy with resources, labor, and strategic ports. But beneath the surface, cracks were forming. Britain's industrial lead was shrinking. The United States was rising. Germany was challenging Britain's economic supremacy. And maintaining such a massive empire required money, far more money than Britain could sustainably generate. Still, few believed the empire could collapse. And then World War II arrived, accelerating every weakness. Origins: how the fall really began when World War II broke out. Britain made a strategic decision: fight at any cost, even if it meant mortgaging the future. To fund the war, the British government sold almost all its foreign investments, drained its gold reserves, and borrowed heavily, especially from the United States through Lend-Lease. By 1945, the empire hadn't just won the war. It had destroyed the very financial system that kept it powerful. Britain was no longer the world's banker. It had become the world's biggest debtor. Rise of chaos. The breaking point after the war, the world expected Britain to rebuild its empire. Instead, the empire was met with rising independence movements, economic collapse, and global pressure to decolonize. 3 forces hit at once. Economic bankruptcy. Britain could no longer afford its military or global administration. Colonial uprisings. India led the charge in 1947, creating a domino effect across Asia and Africa. U.S. pressure. America demanded an end to colonial monopolies as a condition for loans and global leadership. The empire had entered a crisis with no path back. Fallout. The rapid unraveling from 1947 to 1965, Britain lost nearly all of its major colonies. The Suez Crisis of 1956 became the final humiliation. Britain attempted to assert dominance, only for the U.S. to shut it down financially. The message was clear: the age of empire was over. By the 1970s, Britain was no longer a global superpower. The empire that once defined the world had shrunk into a modest European nation struggling with stagnation and debt. Failed fixes. Why Britain couldn't save the empire: attempts to revive imperial control through the Commonwealth, trade blocs, and military alliances failed because Britain lacked the money. The world had shifted toward self-determination. The United States and Soviet Union dominated global politics. The empire's economic model simply no longer worked. Modern parallels. History repeats in silence. Today, the same pressures that crushed the British Empire appear again in new forms. The U.S. carries more debt than any empire in history. China's global projects resemble 19th-century imperial expansion. Military spending worldwide is exploding while economies struggle. Empires don't fall when they re-weak. They fall when the cost of power becomes greater than the benefits. That's what ended Britain's dominance. 3 takeaways. No empire survives a financial collapse, no matter its military strength. Debt, not defeat, is often what ends great powers. Independence movements succeed when global conditions shift in their favor. Closing warning: if history teaches anything, it's this: great powers rarely see their own decline until it's too late. Call to action. If you want more deep, evidence-based breakdowns of global power and economic history, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Your support helps uncover the stories behind the events that shaped our world.